Mm-hmm.
The party constitution of ZANU-PF was not followed.
Right.
And the ZANU-PF plays a very prominent role in this country, having been in power for the past 37 years. Mm-hmm. That means this party has to be well organized, well behaved, so that the people who have invested their trust in it actually yield something out of it.
Right.
You see,
how would you say that the process was not followed? How was this process not applied accordingly?
You see, our leader, President Mugabe,
yes,
stayed too long, and he overstayed his usefulness. You see, the age, and he had been captured by corrupt elements.
Right, right.
Right. This is not the first time in this world this has happened. Mm-hmm. It also happened in China, when Chairman Mao married a very young lady, and he was near incapacitation. During that time, China was overtaken by a group which was known as the Gang of Four, mm-hmm. led by this lady, a young lady, a Chinese, the wife of Chairman Mao.
Chairman Mao.
And they were so corrupt, destroyed China. We grew up knowing China as a country of bicycles. There was economic stagnation. Their vice president had been sent to some place, imprisonment sort of. But it was only after his death that vice president was brought back to lead the country. And he actually fought this state of stagnation economically and the political corruption in the country. Right. And that's where we have the China, which is number 2 economically to the United States of America today.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, also to the best of your knowledge, what other factors would you feel led to the current dispensation in Zimbabwe?
The president is old. There's a power struggle.
Right.
And you say this power struggle started when he was 270 years. Mm-hmm. And what do you think it would be when he's 94?
Right. 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 Don't forget to also interact with us on 0717 777. That's 0717 777. Send us your questions, your comments, and your contributions during the course of the program. I am joined in studio by the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association, a national political commissar, Comrade Francis Nando, and also from the same association is a Comrade Benjamin Nyamwenda, who is the Provincial Secretary General of Masvingo, and also from the Zimbabwe Council of Churches is a Reverend Kenneth Mtata. Now, I'd like to just pose my next question to the Reverend. Earlier on, I did go through a bit of a preamble that came from the Zimbabwe Defense Forces that also purports rather to churches, all religious organizations in Zimbabwe being called upon to congregate and pray for our country and preach the gospel of love, peace, unity, and development. Now, in your capacity as the Secretary General of the Zimbabwe Council of Churches, how have you received this?
Thank you very much. I think we should appreciate that the current situation is received with some form of subdued confidence.
Right.
Because for many people, this could be representing a transition that
right.
That Zimbabweans could have been anticipating, mm-hmm. And would have worked for a long time. Mm-hmm. And even though it has come in an unconventional way, but for many people they see this as an opportunity for the country to start to move maybe in a new direction.
Right.
And I think to recognize the role of the church in this process, I think is important, because everyone knows 85% of the population in this country is somehow connected to a church,
right.
And including all most of our politicians. they are aligned actually to the church. In other words, the church can play a very important role. And I think we should also remember that the church played a very important role in the establishment of the current constitution that we have as a nation. The church played a very important role during the liberation struggle. The church was represented at Lancaster House, even though they were not sitting in the negotiation table, but the church was there to encourage the patriotic movement to engage with one another, in taking into cognizance that the people back home were anticipating that they come back with a resolution.
Right.
So the church is not a peripheral entity in the way we want to envision the new direction for the country. So the recognition by the Zimbabwe Defense Forces in their speech, I think is relevant.
Right. I also do want to appreciate the galvanizing of the church collective in Zimbabwe, but we'll hear about that shortly. I want to redirect my question to Comrade Nando from the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association with regards to the War Veteran Associations. To some people, they may feel that there might be a misunderstanding in terms of which War Veteran Association is actually at the helm of the current dispensation, and also reports from the association saying that there will be a conference or a meeting rather to allow all war veterans to come together and collectively move forward. Give us a clarity on that particular position at the moment, Comrade Nando.
That's a meeting of all war veterans, collaborators, and the detainees, and all the people who are interested in coming together and chart a way forward for this country. Churches are invited. As he said, 85% of Zimbabweans are related to a certain church. This includes us, war veterans. So everybody, every Zimbabwean, across the political divide, we would want to see MDC people coming in. They are not our enemies. We respect them for starting this democratic process in the first place. So they helped us establish this democratic constitution. The churches were involved. Everybody was involved. And if everybody comes to this meeting, it will bring everybody into the process.
So for clarity, Comrade Nando, is there a distinction between Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans as an association, or is everyone under one collective now?
Well, you see, we have the war veterans who were aligned to this G4 team, who were paid to behave the way they were behaving, protecting the corrupt group we had in the party. And it was an illegal entity. It is still illegal.
It's still an illegal entity?
Yes. But they exist because they are protected by the corrupt guys. And they want to pretend as if they have certain war veterans loyal to their schemes. If you look at every one war veteran, or the leadership in this group of criminals being sought by the army, you will see they all have a criminal record. You check on them from their Politburo allies, right at the top, down to the cell, in the villages. Most people aligned to them have some criminal activity around them, even in the villages. You see, so these guys are always there, the criminal element of war veterans. Ours is led by Chris Mtswangwa, and we have the legal standing. The High Court made a ruling on us. I think, my colleague can add on that.
Yes. Nyamwenda.
Yes. Yeah, it's true, actually. We've got the mercenary element.
The mercenary element?
Yes. And
mercenary is a soldier that is paid to go to war.
The mercenary element in the war veterans.
Right.
But these are not members of the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association.
Right.
You see. And most of them have a criminal record. some records of robbing war veterans. The era of the $50,000. We had a grouping of war veterans who thought they could invest their money, and they did put that money somewhere, and it was squandered.
Right.
Yes, by the Nyamwendas of this world. So they are criminals. They've always been criminals.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, fully appreciating the term criminals, a statement that you also did release through your association, they said what constitutes then the anti-revolutionary element that your association proposed to be affecting Zimbabwe. You speak of criminals that even the Zimbabwe Defense Forces says that this is where their approach is targeted towards. Who are these criminals?
Right. The criminals being sought by the Zimbabwe Defense Forces.
Yes.
The criminals who plundered, those who have plundered the wealth of this country.
Okay.
Look at some of our ministers during the time that everyone was, did not know when he's going to put food on the table or how he's going to put food on the table. Some people were building, 60-bedroomed houses, $3 million houses, and industries are shutting down. And one wonders, where would you get the money from if there's no business going around? Where would you get the money from?
Fully appreciated. Don't forget to also interact with us on 0717 and 777. That's 0717 777. I'll also be going through your WhatsApp messages shortly. Joining me in studio from the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association is their National Political Commissar, Comrade Francis Nando, and also the Provincial Secretary General of Mashingo, Comrade Benjamin Nyamwenda. And also joining us from the Zimbabwe Council of Churches is the Reverend Kenneth Mtata. He's the Secretary General there. So please feel free to keep sending in more of your messages. Also, just bringing a Reverend Mtata in onto the discussion. Now, peace, love, and unity being the main precedent that the church has been asked to bring forward. Would you say at the moment that the churches have all managed to come together collectively, united in agreement in their position right now that the role and function played by the Zimbabwe Defense Forces speak towards the well-being and betterment of Zimbabweans?
Yes, thank you. I think those elements of peace, love, and unity are important, but I don't think they are adequate. There is another element which is absent there, which is justice, because I think we need to make sure that as we are forging this new dispensation, this new imagination about the future, that we take seriously the justice issues around this process. And that's why we, as churches, we have issued a joint statement which was released yesterday that brought all the churches together.
Good.
The Zimbabwe Catholic Bishops' Conference, the Zimbabwe Council of Churches, Judas Caesar of the African Independent Churches, and the Evangelical Fellowship of Zimbabwe, to state what we think is important. But one of the issues that we want to raise that we think is important in this process is that I'm not sure if this is the right time to sort of present one group as a holier-than-thou group of people, and then there is a group of people that are totally criminal and therefore must be eliminated. I think if we go through this process, we may end up again having a situation where you have this winners take all situation, and some justice processes may not be followed to their final conclusion. And I think that is why it is important that we need to be very careful with the rhetoric that seems to be coming out, that of sort of weeding out criminals, and to start to use this language. I think may create a situation we have seen in other countries where there is a mass decision on justice issues when people can actually be given an opportunity to defend themselves in a court of law. What we think will be required, I think, as we move forward as a country, is that we need, as churches, we see this as a kairos moment, an opportunity for us to rediscover how Zimbabweans have in the past managed to work together. Zimbabweans discovered each other during the 1960s and 1970s when they discovered that they must work together to fight against this oppression of racism. And it did not matter whether someone was from Matabeleland or was from Mashonaland.
Right.
Zimbabweans found each other in the 1980s when there was almost going to be self-destruction in Midlands and Matabeleland, and we signed a unit accord. Zimbabweans found each other in the in 2013 when we came up with the new constitution, or even earlier in 2009 when we shared in the government of national unity. I'm not sure if this would be the right time to start to go witch hunting. But what I think may need to be done is that we need to start processes that ensure just ways are found to make sure that those who acquired ill wealth are brought to book and according to the law. So I would think that I sympathize with a sense of those who feel outdone, but I think many of us are complicit in how this system ended up coming to being. Many of us, I think, relegated, did not take our responsibility seriously, including my brothers, the war veterans. I think they could have taken some due processes in their own circles to make sure that the country did not slide into this crisis, which has now culminated in the events of the last 72 hours or so. So I think if all of us take our own responsibility of what we did not do or what we did not do well, I think there is a likelihood that we can come out of this situation much more victorious as a people, but not necessarily one group winning.
That's it. No, thank you so much for that contribution. And please feel free to keep sending us your contributions on 0717 and 777. I'd like to also point out my next question to the Zimbabwe National War Veterans, National Liberation War Veterans Association, especially in light of the previous sentiments that you made, that the steps that are being taken right now by the Zimbabwe Defense Forces are to root out the criminal element that went so far as to affect the economic, political and social environment that we have in Zimbabwe. Now, you also did purport earlier on to the sentiment that within ZANU-PF that there was a collective that felt that it could act in its own accord outside of the constitution and alignment clauses rather that come with that. What then can we what entity within ZANU-PF? Terms that are used are G40, saying that it is G40 then that has caused the calamity that Zimbabwe now experiences at the moment. If that is the case, then who within G40 is actually at the helm of the calamity that Zimbabwe is experiencing?
Right. This started not just with this so-called G40.
Right.
No. I respect and accept the opinions of the Reverend. That's straightforward.
Right.
You know, we had the Vice President, my Mujuru. She left the party and government without any justice being followed in a dismissal, and a whole lot of other leaders in the party. Not even one of them was brought before the court of law. And that means this process went on for some time. We were, I think, we are guilty of being liberal, of not taking action, or of not seeing this in time. Well, some comrades had seen it, like Jabulani Swanda. When he...
How did he see it?
Jabulani Swanda said, there is a bedroom coup. When he saw my Mugabe, the first lady, fighting the vice president.
Right.
We thought this guy...
The then vice president...
Maimjuru.
Maimjuru, yes.
Yeah. At that time we thought there was something amiss about him. He was our leader. He was the chairman. And if you understand, if you have seen it now, I actually made an apology to him for not getting it in time.
Right.
That's when it started. it had started before maybe, but it starts with disregarding the rules of the party, rules of the government, you see. And I think at this time, as he has said, we have to use the justice system. We've got specialized institutions, the judiciary,
right,
for that job. For example, the army has just got to identify people like, for example, if I were me, I would get Jonathan Moyo and say, but comrade, imimi waga bamari kuti simdev. And my figures are aripo. Then the anti-corruption guys came to arrest you. When you were asked, you publicly said, Marimaga Pamai, my youth, Maria, I see my youth.
Right. These are some of the irregularities that you're referring to.
Yes.
Right.
But I would also ask, Amai, could the Magaja Maria, I see Yagava Namizraquai? He has to answer.
Right. Right. We'll take a small break and we'll come back. We'll hear a bit more on this topic of discussion. Joining me in studio from the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association is a comrade Francis Nando, who is the National Political Commissar there, and also from the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association, a comrade Benjamin Nyamwenda, who is the Provincial Secretary General, and from the Zimbabwe Council of Churches, Reverend Kenneth Mtata, who is also its Secretary General. Please feel free to keep interacting with us. So when we come back, we'll be looking at a few more of your WhatsApp comments. You can also call us in studio on 0717 777 777.
What is Talk Radio? Talk Radio is you. Think about it. My job is to encourage you to think, then persuade you to speak to me. Then take what you say, analyze it, figure out what you desire, then talk about it on radio, so that you are keen to listen. And I further encourage you to think, then persuade you to speak about it. Then I take what you say, analyze it, figure out what you desire, and the cycle goes from strength to strength. As long as you are there, we've got Talk Radio. Capi Talk, 100.4 FM. You set the agenda, we lead the conversation. We live in a dynamic world. A smart world of digital intelligence. In this environment, you can't afford to be one step behind. Stay in tune with the conversations that concern you. Get all the options today. 1. Download the Capitalk FM mobile app. 2. Bookmark the website capitalkfm.com. 3. Follow the conversation on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Capitalk FM. And if you miss a crucial conversation, catch the podcast on capitalkfm.com. Capitalk 100.4 FM, leading the conversation.
Farai Gwaze, The Voice on Capital 100.4 FM, leading the conversation.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to Capi Talk 100.4 FM, Zimbabwe's first and only commercial talk radio station, leading the conversation. Don't forget to interact with us on 0717 777 777. That's 0717 777. Send us your questions, comments, and contributions during the course of the show. We always appreciate hearing from you. Today we're looking at the headline in the local press that read, "No military takeover in Zimbabwe." This is from the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, and we're joined in studio by the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association, their National Political Commissar, Comrade Francis Nando, and the Provincial Secretary General for Masvingo, Comrade Benjamin Nyamwenda, and from the Zimbabwe Council of Churches, Reverend Kenneth Mtata, who is its Secretary General. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Capital Drive. We do have a caller on the line. We'll take our first call for this afternoon's show. Hello, you are live on the Capital Drive. Please give us your name and where you're calling from. All right, then we just lost that call. So let's go through a few of the WhatsApp comments that did come in earlier on during the course of the discussions. It says this is great PR for the Defense Forces because before people had no respect for the Defense Forces and they would join the Defense Forces, but now people are looking at them with great respect. Thank you so much to the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. Another comment that comes in says that Farai, now we are anxious. The army should tell us what was their plan as with regards to a SADC. That comment coming in also on our WhatsApp platform. Another comment that comes in says it's a job well done, guys. How are we going to take us where we belong economically? And then another comment comes in as this is from Imam Givi. He says it seems the Christian communities are divided. A few days ago they sang different praises and tunes at Rufaro Stadium. Where are we now? I think we'll start off with that comment regarding the churches, divisions, and also collectively, and then we'll also address a few more of the comments regarding where are we going with our economy and where can we take this regarding the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. I'll start off with you, Reverend Mtata.
Yes, I think if we talk about the issue of division, I think this is one of the biggest challenges that is affecting our nation. We are a nation that is fragmented from the roots. Right now, we are a struggling nation because we no longer have a clear vision of where we are going as a people. It's gone the time when we used to call during the liberation struggle when everyone was Manawevu. That time is now gone. Every Zimbabwean is looking out for themselves. So if you look at the division inside the church, you are only looking at one sector of society that is divided. But you can see the same in the war veterans. You can see the same in ZANU-PF. You can see the same in MDC. You can see the same in many other institutions of society. But this is a symptom. It's a symptom of the situation that we have. And by the way, division and fragmentation of society normally serves to maintain the status quo.
Right.
When people are divided, then they cannot solve the problem that is affecting them. The reason why we are in this situation is because the people of Zimbabwe allowed themselves to be divided and therefore could not find each other at moments when they needed to find each other. So if you use the system of divide and rule, which has worked since colonialism, you can continue to get away with it until a time comes when people can find each other.
Right.
And therefore, and I hope that this is the time when Zimbabweans can find one another from the perspective of religion, from the politics. And I was encouraged to hear Comrade Nando inviting the MDC, even at the political front, that as a nation, it is possible for people to belong to different political parties, but still be called Zimbabweans and not traitors.
Right.
And for us to reach that level of maturity, I think, I hope that this moment we have now will usher that new dispensation when a Zimbabwean is called a Zimbabwean first before they can belong to any group.
Right. No, thank you so much for that contribution. Another comment that also comes in on our WhatsApp platform. This is from Fadzi. Fadzi says, "Why have the war vets decided to become vocal now? When this corrupt system was beneficial to them, they were fully in support of it. This criminal element he is referring to isn't a new thing." Your contribution there, Comrade Nando.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
We have always been vocal.
Yes, Comrade.
She only hears it now because we are going public about it.
Right.
But we've always been vocal.
Hello.
Right. Sorry to interrupt you there. We do have a caller on the line. Hello, you're live on the Capital Driver. Please give us your name and where you're calling from in
Right,
Harare.
I'm a comrade from Harare. 3 issues I want to point out. The war veterans and other people have always been active, trying to get this thing addressed. But it turned out they were talking to very deaf leadership.
Right.
If you remember, the 18th of February 2016, the war veterans were mercilessly tear-gassed for trying to sit together and come up with a consensus at a meeting in Harare.
Right.
If you remember again, when people in the provinces demonstrated against certain people who are now being viewed as G40, it was actually summarily dismissed and said no one had the right to send them away. But recently, the very same people at the top went on to suggest that people should be dismissed. They suspended them and even encouraged people to form new committees to come and fire them from the party. This is what was driving people. There was no platform for negotiating, for discussing things. And what is happening, even the army once approached the leadership in private to request that some of these people be excluded from the party channels until they are elected, and that we should not fight in public. This was ignored. Instead, people were being demoted, removed, and all that. So we must put that into, it's been coming. There was no channel that is laid down for proper consultation amongst the people. But what is taking place right now is what we would call an anticlimax. We are getting to a point where we are resolving things. It's either or, because look at it, they are looting, they've taken all the money.
Right.
We can't even have anything here. People are dying without medication. We are not sending our children to school. So, intervention, there won't be anything. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contributions there. As a comrade in Harare, would you like to quickly add or respond to that contribution?
Yes, this caller is dead right. We were not silent about it. We have always been, wanting to straighten this thing, behind closed doors. But these people are, impervious to reason.
Right. And you see, I do want to get back to that particular element when you say that these people were impervious, because he did also, the caller did say, comrade in Harare, he did say that a lot of the positions that were taken by the war veterans fell on deaf ears. Comment that comes in on our WhatsApp platform says that churches should pray for the departure of the comrades for the betterment of Zimbabwe. Now, looking at some of the sentiments that do come in on our WhatsApp platform. Another one comes in. This is from Tatenda. It says that the war veterans are not answering the questions very clearly. Who are these criminals? We want to know who the criminals are. Another comment that also comes in on our WhatsApp platform says that all war veterans are equal, but those with high ranks within ZANU-PF were the ones who made the war vets decide themselves. This is from Ba Chale Enerugare. Let's start off with that particular comment there, is that to some degree that every individual who took the time to give of themselves towards the liberation struggle in Zimbabwe all has their own merit. And it seems as though that to some degree some were more equal than others. Is that the case? Was that the case?
To say some were more equal than others?
That some ended up becoming more equal than others with regards to war veterans?
No, I can't say that. People have ranks in society.
All right.
And certain responsibilities. But the majority of war veterans, some of them, like there's this comrade called Kumalo.
Yes.
He started the war very long back. He was responsible for all the artillery we used in the war. If you look at him now, he's suffering to the extent that he's also being used today to follow these same G40 guys.
Right.
Because he needs some food. When you see some people trying to get support from our veterans,
right,
they use such comrades so that they also think they
pieces of silver.
You see.
Let's get into a call. We do have a caller on the line. It's hello, you're live on the Capital Drive. Please give us your name and where you're calling from in Harare.
Yes, how are you?
Mushe, yes, Abo, yes, sir. Please give us contribution. Yes,
contribution.
Yes, please give us your contribution. Tipe contribution ya Mkoma Aba.
Yes, inini nyaya yandingada kuemphasize. Ndoda kutaura kunyanya kuna mufundisi mukuru wemachechi kuti kune dambudziko kumwe kwachona ndikokuti ichokwadi ndotenderana kuti nyika kazhinji inodzidza kubva kuchechi. Saka zvinhu zvinoitika muchechi zvine bearing kune zvinotozoita kunyika. Mukatarisa nyaya idzodzo dzatiri kubetera with, these are real issues dziri kutoitikawo muchechi, yokuti leadership chaiyo havatombobvumi. They don't believe that there can be other leaders vanosumudzwa una Mwari muchechi imwe chete iyoyo. The same applies. Nyika inongozokopawo zvimwe chete izvozvo, then we start seeing what we are seeing now. saka church dei yanga yagona kuva a good example to the world kuti succession wo ngadzioneke muchechi dzichiexista vanhu vachichinjana even simba muchechi kuti nhasiwo mamuchitonga muri bishop asi kana generation wonyuwani yasumuka tokuonayo muchiita step down, but we are not seeing that even in church. So the church is partly to blame for the situation that we are in today. That's what I still think.
Right. Thank you so much for your contribution. Please, your response there, Reverend Mtata.
Yes, I think it's very right. The church normally mirrors society, and society normally mirrors the church. But I think the issue he's raising is an issue that is almost deeply ingrained into the problems that we are facing as a nation, our understanding of leadership. And unfortunately, the church has been legitimating some of these very, very weird and strange understandings of leadership,
right,
where there is no place for questioning, there is no place for engagement. And we have heard many church leaders who would say you cannot question any leader because a leader has been appointed by God, so you cannot raise any questions. And we've seen that, so what is happening, religion has been legitimating bad forms of leadership, and bad forms of political leadership has been legitimating bad forms of church leadership.
Right.
So I think is completely right.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, how do we take this moment we have now, not only to regenerate secular leadership, but also to regenerate religious leadership? And that's why, for me, I said, on one hand, I'm quite excited that we may be breaking into a new era in Zimbabwe, where we are going to revisit all facets of life.
Right.
Issues regarding leadership are going to become very, very important.
Right. Now, regarding issues of leadership, as I did mention at the beginning, that the current situation in Zimbabwe is unprecedented. The whole world is looking at us at the moment with anxiety, wondering what is happening and what is going to happen. However, we here in Zimbabwe are experiencing it every single day, but also appreciating the fact that the developments that led to today did not start yesterday. There has been a process that has finally got us to the moment that we are experiencing at the moment, and also from the developments that have taken place, many statements have also purported to looking at the role and function of the liberation struggle, which is why we do have the Zimbabwe Liberation War Veterans Association joining us here today in studio. I do want to also bring in one particular point that has come in on our WhatsApp platform. This is from Nesbet Mareverwa, who is in Kwadzana 2. He says, I am so happy with the program that you have brought to us today. Thank you so much for that contribution. He says, we need, however, to pray for our country for the sake of peace and happiness. What I've seen in town, what I saw in town yesterday was something that I've never seen before. And right now, I do not know what to make of it. So many Zimbabweans who for the past 37 years have experienced peace and tranquility in Zimbabwe and still are experiencing peace and tranquility, yet the sites are ones that they've never seen. What stage would you say we are transitioning in our country, Zimbabwe, especially as those who put their own lives at risk for the liberation of our country? Where are we at the moment, and where are we trying to go with the current phase and the current dispensation that we are in?
Right. I said earlier on, we are fighting two parallel struggles. One, the economic struggle, and two, the democratic struggle. The democratic struggle affects everybody. Kubva kuna mambo kumusha uko, kuenda kuma church. And this struggle, ikaitwa fought successfully, inoreduce even corruption.
All right.
Because they indo nyaya yekuti urikuitei zvaurikuita ukazviitirwa unofungei. Inyaya yekuti at some stage we have a chance yekuti every 5 years let's look for new leaders. You have in Zimbabwe party, for example, ZANU-PF. There is no way you can have two people competing for one post, for the post here president. It has never happened. And then you can't call that democracy. Because It's only called democracy when you have more than one person competing.
Right. A comment that does come in also in line with that day, it says, why, Comrade Nando, did no war veterans tell the president that it was time to move on for 15 years ago? Why now?
Right. During the time, you say 15 years ago, being referred to, we were entangled in some processes, the liberation. Do you know kuti takaenda kuhondo tichitsvaga land, for example, but our government havana kumbozvifunga until Tsvangirai threatened takeover of power. That's when they thought about it, and when we pushed them, then ipapo tichisenzesa power yaida Tsvangirai, they let go. That's how we got into the farms.
Right.
Dai pasina mboya Tsvangirai kuzokombeta power yaMugabe, tele tisinapinda mapurazi.
Right. Right. Right.
And also,
yes,
let
please
me chip in. 15 years ago, it had already been started. Remember Edgar Tekere?
Yes.
Yes. Edgar Tekere challenged the president, and he got he surprised everyone by the margin that the margin of votes that he got, and the people who voted for him are all veterans, because we'd seen it that long time ago. So 15 years is not the time that it started. 15 years ago, it was already there.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. A comment that comes in, Nancy, if the dismissal of former Vice President Comrade Mjuru was unprocedural, what's next? Is she going to be reinstated? This is from Babafe.
Now, Mjuru part of us. One. The problem we have in politics, it is they now want power more than fighting for justice.
Right.
You see, this is justice. She must come to sense that in the compete for power, fairly with others. You see, we don't want Mjuru Kutwa. She's an enemy of the revolution, enemy of this one, enemy of that one. No. She must be given equal opportunity like anybody else.
Also,
but we can't say Mupati, we'll bring back everybody. And
right.
At an authority, but like what the general said,
yes.
Chiwenga.
Yes.
And I there with equal opportunities.
Right. Okay. More comments are coming on WhatsApp platform. Anzi Masoja Edu, we are so proud of you guys. God loves you. Mawo vets Edu. Another comment that also comes in on our WhatsApp platform. Anzi, kudos to the general. Panewanga Wanyanya Kufarisa Sadak should stay out of our affairs. I want to just bring in a Reverend Mtata on that particular point. People say that the Sadak should stay out of our affairs. Right. Is there any impression at all that SADC requires any involvement in the affairs in Zimbabwe at the moment, outside of an observatory one?
Yeah, I think Zimbabweans have a bad experience with SADC because I think you know that during the elections that the opposition won, but were declared inconclusive, and therefore SADC was to come and to contribute to the mediation process, and then which led to the process of the government of national unity.
Right.
Many people believe that actually Zimbabweans were shortchanged, and the SADC wanted to come and confirm the incumbent. And of course, on that note, many Zimbabweans are very suspicious of SADC intervention, because they think SADC is one institution that will not want to facilitate any process of change in Zimbabwe, but only to entrench the status quo.
Right.
And I think Zimbabweans are speaking about, they have this suspicion from hindsight. It's out of experience. Once bent, twice shy. And I think that's why Zimbabweans are afraid that if anyone from outside comes in, they may end up scuttling whatever processes is ongoing.
Right.
Many Zimbabweans are hoping this time we need to find out a solution by ourselves, and we will only invite outsiders when a local solution has been found.
Right.
And we hope a solution must be found, because I think the more we go without any clarity of where we are going, I think many Zimbabweans will be very disappointed.
All right. Another comment that comes in says, may the war vets please comment on the $15 billion. Are there any contributions there?
Okay, the $15 billion.
Comrade Nando. Yes, go your way.
Look, the president appeared on TV, on
Right.
national television.
Yes.
He told us that 15 billion cannot be accounted for.
Mhm.
We didn't know. Everybody. Nobody knew.
Right.
Yes. And then zero. Kept quiet.
Nothing at all.
Yes. But now we see, I'm sorry to say, but we see the First Lady, you know, splashing money, buying rings, $1.3 million.
Right.
We know she has got Guzuko Dairies there, but if we were to audit, are you sure we're going to find profits that are like that?
Right.
Now, we see the First Lady bringing in the Chipagas of this world and the youth to State House.
Right.
Throwing, you know, banquets and things like that. And then she tells these young boys to dance. And whoever dances better, I'll give him $10,000 cash. And she's this money in her hand. Where is this money coming from?
Right.
And the proverbial, you know, mbuya vashaikwa and bereriku wonekwa ringe.
Well, I'll leave that at that particular point there. There still are quite a few more comments that are coming on our WhatsApp platform. We are surely going to get into the news at 5 o'clock with Owen Crowder, but I still am joined by my guests, and we will still be carrying on with our discussion. So please bear with us, and please feel free to keep sending in more of your contributions on 0717 777. That's 0717 777. Joining me in studio from the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association is Comrade Francis Nando, who is the National Political Commissar there, and Comrade Benjamin Nyamwenda, who is the Provincial Secretary General of Mashingo, and from the Zimbabwe Council of Churches, the Secretary General, Reverend Kenneth Mtata. You are listening to the Capital Drive. We also do have our live stream platform available on Facebook, so you can watch us in studio. Please feel free to keep sending in more of your messages. We're just going to quickly get into the news at 5 o'clock with Owen Kaura, and straight after that, I will hear a bit more from our guests on the developments that have recently taken place, looking at no military takeover in Zimbabwe, a statement released by the Zimbabwe Defense Forces.
Capital Drive.
Hapana kana zvazviri kutombobatsira zviri kungoswera zviti vanhu vakutoona kwekubira vanhu vakutowana zvekuita nekuti I'm not sure of what's in the constitution, but kana munhu akazvarirwa muno ambuya vake variyo vakauya nenjanji, how do you expect that person kuti anzi alien anofanira kuenda kumalawi haatokuzivi kumalawi haazikani.
How do people benefit from these bitcoins? Can you resell them like shares? That's a great question there, Kumbi. We'll definitely interrogate that question.
Join Farai Gwaze on Capital Drive, Monday to Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. on Capital 100.4 FM, leading the conversation.
Welcome to the Capital Drive here on Capital 100.4 FM, leading the conversation. The time is 5 o'clock. We're going to quickly get straight into the news with Owen Kaura.
Good afternoon. Top story this hour. The SADC meeting on the political situation in Zimbabwe is now underway after delays due to the chairperson arriving late. And the Zimbabwe Council of Churches has applauded the initiative taken by the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, saying it was an opportunity for the birth of a new Zimbabwe. And business continues as usual in the capital's central business district since yesterday's intervention by the Zimbabwe Defense Forces in their bid to appease the deteriorating political, social and economic situation in the country. And the Harare City Council says the ongoing inner city renewal project is aimed at improving the economy. Mrs. Ngwe also added that the renewal project is not only focused on the central business district, as there are plans to develop and renovate other areas. That's the news in brief at 5. Join us at 6 for the latest. My name is Owen Kaura.
Farai Gwaze, The Voice, on Capital 100.4 FM, leading the conversation.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to Capi Talk 100.4 FM, Zimbabwe's first and only commercial talk radio station, leading the conversation. And still carrying on with our hot topic for discussion today. Joining me in studio from the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association is a Comrade Francis Nando, who is the National Political Commissar there, and Comrade Benjamin Nyamwenda, who is the Provincial Secretary General of Masvingo, and from the Zimbabwe Council of Churches, Reverend Kenneth Mtata, who is the Secretary General there. Now, we still do have a few more comments on our WhatsApp platform that we will be addressing shortly, but please feel free to also keep engaging with us, even on our Facebook platform, sending your contributions there. Just search for @Capi Talk FM. Now, a comment that comes in regarding the economy, it says T for Harare. Although I agree for sure that somebody messed up with our Zimbabwean economy, but I'm also afraid of this country to be given to the same war vets who could do anything to make sure that who would have done anything to ensure that the power remained in the status quo. In 2008, they came to Chiweshe and they were armed, declaring that it was either the president who wins or else there would be war. People were harassed, and I think that the agenda is now only to retain power for the current status quo. What would your response be to some people who feel that the war veterans, to a large degree, in some of the experiences in Zimbabwe, left them hard done?
Right. War veterans would be better off not in political corridors, but right in the industry, in the farms.
Right.
Zimbabwe is in a situation where we liberated the country and left industry or the economy to the same people we were fighting, and in most cases very corrupt and uncommitted citizens running the economy.
Right.
Look at what is happening now. When we went into the farms, and the white man got angry.
Right.
He left not only the farms, but the industry as well. And our economy was back to its status in 1953. Was it 1953?
Right.
Which means from 1980 to say 2000, our economy had not moved even an inch. It had not moved at all. I mean, the indigenous economy. So what we need to create in Zimbabwe is not looting little we have in the country.
Right.
It is inviting foreign capital to come and invest in our economy. We had our chairman, Chris Mtangwa, when he was chairman and minister for veterans, he had secured billions of dollars to be invested in the country from several countries, China, Germany, France, the United States. But you know what happened? There was competition in the party, in the government. And in the end, he was dismissed.
Right.
And we lost everything. What we believe is, if you want an economy to develop, there must be participation of the people who brought about that independence. Some people, because it has to be a real war, a commitment to fight for development. It doesn't just come. You don't just go to the bank and get money and invest and so. You must have some commitment. It has to be a parcel you deliver to your country.
Right.
Like the parcel we delivered in its characteristic today.
Right.
We are not proud of it. So we think Zimbabwe is, you see, it is the only country in the world where you can get chrome, coal, iron, platinum within 300 kilometers of each other. Whereas in certain countries, they get chrome from there, they get coal there. You see, sometimes from Asia, from the United States, from South America to Europe.
Right.
You see.
Right. Now, fully appreciating the economic resources that are available to Zimbabwe to move forward. And to conclude, I do want to also touch on what becomes the way forward. But I want to just address a contribution that is coming on our WhatsApp platform. This is from Alfred in Epworth. And I'd address this near to Reverend Kenneth Mtata. It says, guys, let's give this phase its chance. military irikuita restore order. This is God's way of answering your prayers. Daitaisa zvese kumsiki apasi kuda kupumana uroyi apa, but genuinely talking, no one was perfect, either Lacoste or G40. Now, the reason why I bring in this particular comment in to yourself, Mtata, is that a lot of people feel that everything is a God ordained, and that the position previously was that our leadership was God ordained. Now we're in a position where many are saying that the military has come at a time of answering our prayers, right? There seems to be a bit of a switch in understanding the role that God plays in the sovereignty and a saviorship, if I could use that term, of the people of Zimbabwe. Had God cursed us before? Is he blessing us now? Had he blessed us before? Is he cursing us now? Which one is it in terms of the role that God is playing with regards to the will of the people of Zimbabwe? Or is it the people of Zimbabwe who have a different will and expectation of God himself?
I think we need to be very careful that we ascribe to God what is happening, nor should we ascribe it to the devil, because no one is very sure. But and also I would want to make a corrective. We don't want to make an assumption that as churches we are celebrating what has just happened, nor are we mourning what has just happened. What we are working on is we are working on what is already on the ground, what is happening right now. And I think there is no one who can ignore that something has started to happen now.
Hello?
Okay, right. Sorry to cut you off there. We do have a call on the line. Yes, hello, you are live on the Capital Driver. Please give us your name and where you're calling from in Harare.
Okay, my name is Philmon.
Philmon, please, take a contribution.
Okay, my contribution is, I think in terms of the war, why now? I think they've come now on the side of the people. I think the past they used to utilize, kill, and maim people on the side of Zambia. But why now on the side of the people? So what this teaches us that always people should be principled. What is bad should be said is bad. That's my contribution.
Well, thank you so much for your contribution there. I will allow you to take the time to respond, but I do have another comment that comes in. Anzi, how do the war veterans feel about the land reform program and the 99-year lease versus a title deeds entitlement? This is from a Noble in Budiriro.
Okay. The land reform program, when the land reform program started, it was designed to ask the white men to cede, if you've got more than one farm, cede the other one for resettlement. But in 1998, when there was a conference, the white people naturally refused to give out the land. They didn't want to mix with blacks and so on, and we became restive, and we went out to grab the farms. Okay, now what should have happened was that the government should have come in, to assist patriotic capital to be created in the country.
Right.
But it never happened.
It never happened at all.
Yes.
All right. No, thank you so much for the contribution. Now, we will take a small break shortly. But also, please feel free to keep sending in more of your contributions on 0717 777 That's 0717 777.
Ndakarota hope dzinotyisa.
Nyatsoundiudza nezvazvo.
Ndine hangu ndiri munzira kunovhota. Ndikasvika ndikamira mumutsetse nevamwe. Ndichifara zvekuti apa ndaitonzwa kunonokerwa. Asi teteka pandakasvika pakuti ndipihwe rubatsiro. Mukadzi wacho andiudza mashoko ekuti handina kurejista.
Wati chiina iwe Misheki?
Zvakandikatyamadza tete. Zvinoshamisa.
Iwe Misheki. Uri mwana wehanzvadzi yangu. Usandiudze kuti iwe hausati waitwa BVR. Isu Zimbabwe takatorejista iko kumusha. Biometric voter registration. Ndiye mwana wese wemuZimbabwe ane makore 10 zvichikwira. Chitupa chako netsamba inoratidza kwaunogara.
Asi tete ndakarejista kuvhota kare wani.
Ayewa. Kwave nechirongwa chinyowani. Takutoshandisa mafingerprint nemipikicha yemufananidzo yedu. Usasaririre iwe man.
BVR for every voter. Walala Wasara. For more information, contact the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission on 04759130 or visit www.zec.gov.zw.
Typhoid is a disease caused by a germ called Salmonella typhi. It is spread through stew, dirty hands, unprotected water sources, contaminated food, fruits, vegetables, and drinking water.
Protect yourself and your family. Always wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water after using the toilet, preparing and handling food, including baby milk, before and after you eat or drink. Only use clean water from protected sources. Remember, flies transmit the typhoid germs. Make sure food is always covered. Toilets are free from flies and cover all areas that may hold water stagnant. City of Harare. Protecting Harare residents. Protecting the Sunshine City.
If you suspect typhoid in your area, advise health workers at your nearest health facility immediately.
For more information, visit our website
www.hararecity.co.zw.
Harare City, achieving a world-class city status by 2025.
Let's work together in preventing typhoid.
Farai Gwaze, The Voice on Capital 100.4 FM, leading the conversation.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Capital Driver here on Capi Talk 100.4 FM, Zimbabwe's first and only commercial talk radio station, and leading the conversation. Unfortunately, we will not be taking calls via WhatsApp call. Please call directly on 0717 777 as we cannot receive WhatsApp calls during the course of the show. Unfortunately, we are coming close to the end of our discussions, but I will take the time to go over most of your WhatsApp contributions straight after the discussion. So please feel free to keep sending those in. Joining me in studio from the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association is Comrade Francis Nando, who is the National Political Commissar, and Comrade Benjamin Nyamwenda, who is the Provincial Secretary General of Mashingo, and from the Zimbabwe Council of Churches of Reverend Kenneth Mtata, who is the Secretary General there. Now, out of all the questions and comments that have come in, a lot of Zimbabweans would, and the rest of the world actually, would like to know at this particular point in time regarding our leadership. Is President Robert Gabriel Mugabe still the President of Zimbabwe? Will he remain the President of Zimbabwe? And if not, who then will succeed him, and under what process, looking at the current dispensation?
Yes, President Mugabe is still the President of Zimbabwe. That's why you hear all the time the Defense Forces are referring to him as His Excellency the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, all the time. And about the processes that are going to happen from now going forward, I'm not privileged to comment. But we as war veterans have served the president with divorce papers, because you remember the famous Railton meeting of July 2015, is it? We said we were not going to support his bid for presidency in 2018, and we still stand by that.
Right. Yes. Comrade Nando.
As he says, and when we izvo tiri muna November ngatiti udzoka andiya isu takatenderana kuti hatisavavhotere vouya for January, December, January, February, maybe I don't know, somewhere in July tiita ma-elections. I think it's okay pachinda some form of transition
pakati apa kana kuti
pakati
apa kuti paitike some form of transition,
ngapachitova ne-transition,
right,
inopreparewa apo inotilida to my-elections,
right.
You see, vanhu vocampaigna freely, vanatsvangirai, because I think hapana munhu usacampaigna chero ndikauya kumba munhu akaramba kwangu kwatsvangirai achida kuconvinza mudzimai wangu kana asingamunyenga dangomuti amuvhotere, I would not say no. I mean, it must be so free, everybody campaigning,
right.
And because votengesa pfungwa dzavo totsvaga ari better, and you see isi todanana nazvo because tobva tati takakupai zvese izvi rusununguko,
right.
asi kana vakadzoka manje
Right. So you're saying the position is very clear for the current president to come back and carry on another term. And we do have a call on the line. Chada.
Hello.
Okay. Yes, we do have a call on the line. Yes, hello, you're live on the Capital Driver. Please give us your name and where you're calling from in Harare.
Okay, I'm calling from Harare. My name is Pasi.
Pasi, please give us your contribution.
Right, in kuti zvichaitira kuti army intervene futi muma issues emamwe maparties because vakaintervene vachiti izvo is for ZANU-PF ko MDC vachaita kuti zvitemupingere
ndomubvunzo wenyu chete renaimko
chete
alright, please rambai makateerera. Alright then, yes, pabvunza kuti ko intervention military Zimbabwe Defence Forces, does it only align itself to issues within ZANU-PF as the ruling party, or is it that they would also find themselves dealing with any issues that may come up with opposition movements?
Well, I stand corrected, but I think the army came in not because they want to correct things in ZANU-PF, but the goings on in ZANU-PF are affecting the generality of the public, including MDC, and that is what they don't want.
Right.
The affecting of the generality of the public, not just ZANU-PF, but what is happening in ZANU-PF, because ZANU-PF is the ruling party, is affecting, every citizen.
Every citizen.
That's why the army came in.
The army came in,
yes.
Right. Just for more clarity on this particular area, we do have another call that will come in, and I will take this. This is our last call. I would like to hear from Reverend Mtata before we close. Yes, you are live on the Capital Driver. Please drive volume here, radio. Feedback. Hello? Okay, we just killed that call. Thank you so much for all the contributions that you've been sending in. I really do appreciate them. Another WhatsApp that comes in is also asking for clarity in terms of the transition. What then happens in the interim period? You did say, Comrade Nando, pakati apa. There's a vacuum that's going to be there. His Excellency President Robert Gabriel Mugabe is still the president of Zimbabwe. That is clear in the position that you have brought forward. Right now, in him still being the president of Zimbabwe, you're referring to a transitional period that we wait for the elections that will be taking place in 2018 for a new appointment of leadership. Is that the position? And in the meantime, the criminal element is what would be rooted out of the party.
No, I'm not talking on behalf of the army.
Yes, no, you're speaking on behalf of the Zimbabwe Liberation War Veterans Association.
And this is an opinion.
Yes.
Out of the fact that we don't need Mugabe back to the day of elections.
Sure.
No. We need a situation where elections are prepared. People prepare for elections, they sort out their things, preparing for an election, which is going to be very free and fair.
Right. No, thank you so much for that contribution. And a final closing remark that I'd like to also get from Reverend Mtata. In the midst of all of this, there are those who only want peace, unity, love, and prosperity. That's all that they want. With all the calamities that may be taking place, with political clashes, even with a jostering of leadership positions, there are some that are just saying, all I want to know is that I can have a better future for myself, my family, and look forward to remaining in the country that is now Zimbabwe.
And I think this is the expectation of most of the majority of Zimbabweans. They are not very much interested in what is going on behind the scenes, the negotiations, the discussions. And I think at the moment we are all in a very precarious position because we don't know what is happening. And therefore, I think the earlier whatever is going on is concluded, the better. I think many Zimbabweans are anxious, and I think the only way to resolve this anxiety is when we can come to a conclusion of whatever is going on in a peaceful way.
Right.
And this is the hope and the prayer of many Zimbabweans, that whatever is going on right now, it may be concluded in peace. And that's why the churches are in prayer. And this is one of the first calls the churches have made in their statement, that we want that this whole process may end without any violence and without any bloodshed. And we hope that those who are in control of the process may ensure that this process ends in a peaceful way.
All right then. Thank you so much for all the contributions from our guests today. I'd like to thank Reverend Kenneth Mtata from the Zimbabwe Council of Churches. He's the Secretary General there. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Capital Drive.
Okay, thank you.
Right. And also I'd like to thank my guests from the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association, Comrade Francis Nando, who is the National Political Commissar, and Comrade Benjamin Nyamwenda, who is the Provincial Secretary General of Masvingo. Comrades, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and also sharing with us the current deliberations.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, you are tuning to the Capital Driver here on Capi Talk 100.4 FM, Zimbabwe's first and only commercial talk radio station, leading the conversation. Don't forget to take advantage of our social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to find out more information. And I will be giving you a few more of your contributions from your WhatsApp platform on the 0717 777. That's 0717 777. Stay tuned. Shortly coming up next is the business brief, or the final business brief of the afternoon with Owen Kaura.
We live in a dynamic world, a smart world of digital intelligence. In this environment, you can't afford to be one step behind. Stay in tune with the conversations that concern you. Get all the options today. 1. Download the Capitalk FM mobile app. 2. Bookmark the website capitalkfm.com. 3. Follow the conversation on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Capitalk FM. And